Did Dave see the note where we were making him host?
Welcome, welcome, listener, and congratulations. You've successfully started a new episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. You picked a good one, too. Today, we've gathered the gang. We're going to talk about one of the most important things in life, video games. Specifically, games that are coming out in 2023 that we are excited about and want you to know about. Each of us has prepared a top 10 list. We're going to be counting down the list and telling you all about them. So strap in. Let's hear who we have with us today. Justin.
Hello.
Brett.
Greetings.
Cody.
Hello.
And me, Dave. Oh, yeah, it's a good group today. So who has anything before we start that they've been doing that's not video game related that they want to share, let the audience know about?
Ooh, not video game related?
If it's nothing, we'll just move right into the main thing.
Well, I failed to mention it last week because I was so excited to talk about AI generated art, but The Last of Us show has premiered on HBO and it is amazing. Loving it. It is, I mean, it's by far the best video game adaptation to screen that I've seen of anything so far. They're keeping it like really close to the story of the game. They are making a few changes here and there, but nothing that really affects the story in any meaningful way. The acting is great, and just the way they're shooting it is really awesome. There are 2 episodes in, and I've been loving it so far.
Very nice.
Cool.
But video game related, so you're disqualified. I'm sorry.
Oh, snap.
Anyone else have anything?
Not video game related.
Go ahead.
I stumbled across a show on Hulu recently. It's an anime, so I know that automatically kind of just tuned out the attention of like my other hosts here. But the storyline is really, really interesting, and I figure if I can get the word out about it, then more people should see this. It's called Summertime Rendering, and it's sort of if any of this means anything to you, dear listeners, it's sort of Higurashi When They Cry meets Groundhog Day in a way, or well, less that. It's more Higurashi meets Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because there's already the time loop aspect in Higurashi. Anyway, it starts with this guy going back to the island where he grew up to attend the funeral of one of his childhood friends. It seems at first that she died in a horrible accident, but it starts to seem like foul play was involved, and then things start getting weird, where there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. There are things that look like people that aren't people that are trying to do something on the island, and anytime that the main character dies, he starts over at the beginning of the day that he was traveling to the island. And it's just a really interesting time loop story where he has to try and piece together what the hell is going on and to try to keep other people from dying. It's not quite like anything else I've ever seen, and I really, really would recommend it. I'm not done with it yet, but it's solid so far.
Dave was totally tuned out until you said the words time loop, and then he.
I love a time loop story, but I can't handle anime stuff. So.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry.
Oh, you're gonna hate my list then.
Sorry.
Oh no. Oh no.
My list is not free of JRPGs. I'll tell you that. All right, Cody, you got anything?
Well, I'm going to cheat. My most exciting thing probably has been video games. I'm still playing Dying Light, as I've mentioned on several podcasts. I was telling the host behind the scenes that I thought the game was basically over, and then went through the tunnel that I presumed was near the end of the game, and it opened up a second open world map, which I was totally blown away by and caught off guard. And this new city that I'm in, which is really just like the nice district of the bigger city, is just completely inhabited with like the worst zombies in the game. And it's like I said before jokingly that you died every 3 minutes, and now it's down to probably about a minute and a half per lifespan that you're on, just because they swarm you, and it's all of the nasties swarming you at once. It's so hard to get anywhere right now, but I did just open the last safe house in town, so I think I'm still making progress towards the end of the game. So, okay. But I've really been enjoying that.
All right, nice. I've got nothing, so let's just dive in. We wanted to do some honorable mentions. These are games that did not make our top 10 lists, but still deserve a shout out. So we'll just go around the table and just spout your list. If you have anything you want to say about them, go ahead, but let's try to keep it brief so we can get to the main action. Justin, you want to go first?
Sure. I've got 5 honorable mentions. I'll go quick on each of them. My first one is Replaced. There hasn't been much gameplay revealed of this, but it's a cyberpunk, I guess, action adventure game, possibly with a mystery aspect thrown in. Not 100% clear, but what caught my attention was just the art style. This thing is drop dead gorgeous. I think it's a mix of pixels and voxels, which are 3D pixels, but look up the trailer for this thing. It is just beautiful. And I don't need to know too much more about it to be excited, but I can't put it on the list because I don't quite know how it's going to play. Next is one called, I believe it's pronounced Inkuli Nati, which, those in medieval manuscripts, the little doodles in the margins, like the rabbits with spears and like the dogs with the trumpets and stuff. It's about that. So basically, it's a turn-based strategy game where you play like a medieval scribe who has found ink that turns anything you draw, it makes it come alive. And I guess you're facing off against other scribes for prestige or power or something like that. It's got a very interesting Monty Python kind of style and humor to it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. This next one I didn't put on my top 10 because the game's already out, but the PC port is new. Returnal. Ever since I saw this one released on the PS5, I was hoping there would be a PC port. It seems like a sci-fi horror third-person bullet hell, also with a time loop. So that's all it took to sell me on that. Next is Zenless Zone Zero, which is the new game from the people who did Genshin Impact, which I never played because I've always been a little leery about linking any of my information to Chinese servers, but the game's incredibly popular. I'm sure it's safe enough. So this has kind of a cyberpunk aesthetic. It's also very stylish, looks cool. And last one is Process of Elimination, which looks like Danganronpa meets Clue. So you're part of a group of detectives who have been either kidnapped or assigned to face off against this serial killer. There's like a board game aspect to it where depending on where you are, you'll get different clues, and depending on your stats, you might be able to figure things out a bit better. And then there's not a whole lot on the rest of the gameplay, but basically there's traps, you could die, other people can die, there's presumably investigation to solve those murders. It looks interesting. So
what's that last one called?
Process of Elimination. Yeah. So that's it for my honorable mentions. Let's whoever wants to go next, go for it.
I can go next. So I have 4 honorable mentions here, 3 that will likely be out and or for sure will be out in 2023, and 1 that I put on there in case. So my 3 that I chose here are Cult of the Lamb, which is already out digitally, but the physical copy comes out in 2023, so I counted that on my list as just one of the honorable mentions here. I don't know a ton about this game other than I've watched a few of the trailer videos for it, and it looks like you remember that movie that Joe was excited about, Cocaine Bear? I think they let him develop a video game, and this is what they came up with. Looks like it's like Animal Crossing on acid trip and some other stuff thrown in there as well, and just looks batshit crazy. So that's 1. My second one is I'm still intrigued by the Persona series, which I still have yet to play. I gather that I hear 5 is pretty dang good. That's already out. So I picked Persona 4 Golden, which is coming out on the Switch, and it kind of gets me back into semi-RPG elements again, which I always bitch about, so I probably may have some issues with that. But the animation and the storytelling looked really cool from the videos here, and I just, again, I was asking you on that last game, it says detective game with a murder mystery. I was kind of intrigued by that one as well. The third one I know is coming out this year is not a game I thought I'd ever put on a list I was making since about 1989 or 90, maybe. This is Disney Illusion Island is my honorable mention number 3, which is a platformer where you play as Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy, and the animation looks like more like the 20s and 30s animation. It looks smooth as hell, and it just looks super fun. It plays 4 players locally. Might be something I pick up at some point, even just play with the kids. Kind of really gave me like Mickey Mouse Capades type vibes to it, but like definitely more modern era than that would be. And then my game that no one knows if will come out in 2023 because it's been on the backlog here for I couldn't tell you how many years at this point since they built it and then scrapped it and started over again. This is Metroid Prime 4, which there's rumors may come out in 2023. I've even heard a rumor that it may come out much quicker than we think here very soon. So we will see.
I thought you were going to say Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark.
That's basically the same story. All right, well, I'll stick mine in here. So just really quick.
Stick it in there, Brett.
Yeah, I'm going to stick it in real quick. So just a little quick for my list here. I basically I kept it to like new games or like new game experiences. So games like The Last of Us, they remastered it. It's coming out on PC. I'm super excited to see that, but not on my list because it's just the same game, just with upgraded graphics and some updated combat mechanics. Also like the Cyberpunk DLC is coming out this year, but I didn't count DLCs, but I'm gonna just mention it here quick. Perfect Dark may come out this year. We have no information on that. It probably won't. There's a few other games here I had listed, but I think those guys, you guys probably have those on your list. I'm not going to mention those right now. And another game that I think is going to be amazing. It probably will be in the running for Game of the Year, but I didn't have it on my list because I haven't played the first 2. I just know it's like super popular, and that's Baldur's Gate 3. That looks like it's going to be pretty amazing.
Nice short game, I'm sure.
Right, yeah. Just under $100, probably, something like that. But yeah, that's about it.
Brett, are we doing aggregates tonight?
I can if you'd like me to.
I like how I just throw that at you at the last second, like, hey, want to do math behind the scenes? Kind of curious what's on multiple lists. Dave, what do you got?
I'm just going to run through mine super quick because I have 8 on the list here. Sea of Stars is a new take on a classic JRPG style recreation with WRECK, Recreation. It's a fun looking racing game. Before Your Eyes is a VR game that tracks when you blink, and the gameplay is entirely centered around that. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals looks like a good sequel to the original I enjoyed very much. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, same sequel to a game I like. And then we have the Final Fantasies. We have Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster, and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth maybe this year. Looking forward to all of those. And that's it for me. All right, so
kind of weird for a series to be called Final Fantasy to have so many iterations.
This is the finalist of fantasies.
This is the most Final Fantasy.
The very last one. All right. Now we're going to run through our lists 10 through 1, starting with number 10, and we'll just go round robin even.
Round robin is something.
We'll go round robin. That's a very different scene. All right. All right. So my number 10 is one that I actually did not know about until doing research today. But it's called Tchia. It's like an island-based adventure game that has it looks really chill. It's got a mechanic called soul jumping that lets you take control of various animals and objects around the island. It's about exploration. It's about just relaxing. It looks fun, and it looks like a game that I can play with the kids, or at the very least in front of the kids, and they will probably be into. So I'm very interested. So that's my number 10. Justin?
Okay. Actually, in a weird twist of fate, not the same game, but my number 10 is one I didn't find out about until just recently myself. Initially, I had Silent Hill F on my list, but then I realized there's nothing saying it's coming out in 2023. So I looked at one of the other ones, Silent Hill games, and also not confirmed for coming out in 2023. And then I looked at the rest of my list and realized I don't have any horror if I take that one off my list. So I started looking specifically for upcoming horror games, and that's how I stumbled across this one. Um, I'd never heard of it until this week. It's called The Dark World Karma, and it looks like essentially if the developers said, what if we set our horror game in a literal capitalist hellscape where there's like an omnipresent company that seems to control everyone and everything. There's like people with TVs for heads that are trying to basically brainwash you. It looks just very surreal, very trippy, and very much up my alley. The trailer, it doesn't show a lot of gameplay, I don't think, but just the visuals of it all and the sheer fresh take on that aspect of horror strikes me as really interesting. The only reason it's so low is because I don't quite know like what the story is yet, or how it's going to play, but it looks really intriguing.
Great. All right. Brett, you want to go next?
Sure. Number 10 on my list, I have a game called Meet Your Maker, which is coming out on basically every platform except Switch, which you're going to hear a lot on my list here. It's basically a post-apocalyptic, take your time, first person base building and raiding type game. So basically you build up a base to defend your vault kind of thing. And you build walls wherever you want them, put in defenses, traps and things. And you put down like NPC defenders, things like that. And then other players try to raid your base to steal resources. And then you go and try and steal resources from other people's bases. And, you get new resources and stuff that you can then use to build your base even bigger. It looks pretty cool. I think it'd be pretty fun because you can watch your opponents their run. You can basically watch it over again and just see what they did, so you can go back and improve your own base, things like that. So look pretty cool, and maybe I'll give that a try. It's coming out April 4th.
Okay, so I thought you were being funny, and it was MEAT. So I typed in Meet Your Maker, which is actually a website, and it's a company that is Meet ! That's kind of a fun website, but anyway, not what you were talking about, as it turns out.
No,
not what you were talking about. All right, my number 10 is a horror game, Justin.
Hey,
and this is a remaster. I did include a couple remasters on my list here. And I should clarify with my top 10, I did a combination of games that I'm most likely going to go out of my way to make sure I spend a lot of time playing, and games that I know I may never play, but am super happy that they're coming out regardless for a couple of these. This one, I don't know if I'll get to, but I hope I do sometime. This is the remaster of Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse at my number 10 spot. I haven't played a Fatal Frame game in quite a while, but this one takes place in a hospital, which I think is just one of those classic horror locations. So I'm excited for that. And the fact that it's remastered probably means it's hopefully going to be the best version of the game it can be. And I've liked the Fatal Frame games since a long time ago too, but haven't played very many of them. So this is a chance for me to fill in a missing hole in that game collection for myself. My number 10.
Very nice. All right, on to 9. My number 9 is called We Were Here Forever. It is the 4th game in a series that started with We Were Here, then We Were Here 2, We Were Here Together, and now We Were Here Forever. And these are specifically 2-player games meant to be played online with a partner. I have a buddy who I play these with. They're pretty short experiences. They're not graphically all that impressive, but they're super fun little puzzles that are very enjoyable, and I'm really looking forward to it. And this one comes out in just a few days on the 31st, so very much looking forward to it. We Were Here Forever.
Okay, I guess it's me again. So my number 9 is one that has been in development hell for quite a while now, and is finally getting a release date, and that is Atomic Heart, which kind of looks like modern day Fallout, except set in Russia, with possibly elements of BioShock in it. And if you look at any of the trailers for this thing, it just looks, absolutely bonkers. Just the weirdness of like a post-apocalyptic Russian wasteland that you might picture in your head, except everything ramped up to 11. Um, the only reason this isn't higher on my list is a that long development cycle. I'm worried it may have spent too much time in the oven. It might not be, there's a chance maybe they tried to do too much, and it's not going to be as polished as I hope. And B, it is actually made by a Russian team. And Russia in current year is kind of well, I don't need to explain that. But the only reason it's on my list at all, though, is because the developers have on several occasions publicly decried the war in Ukraine right now. So I have to respect that, especially considering it's probably not entirely safe for them to do that in this political climate. But it's what allowed me to feel okay possibly buying this. And it comes out February 20th. It looks just completely nuts. And if it lives up to the trailers, I will be very, very happy to give this one a shot.
That was one that I had on my initial list, but it fell all the way off completely. But yeah, that has caught my eye a little bit. Number 9 for me is a game that I know very little about. I saw the trailer was at they played it at the one of the Game Awards shows, and I like it really the visually caught my eye, and I was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. It's a game called Witchfire. It's for PC. It does not have a set date yet, but they say it's coming out in 23. They're certain of that. But it's basically it's like a medieval fantasy kind of first person shooter. You use like magic, but you have guns too. So you're like shooting these like witches and demons and things with guns and stuff. It looks kind of gritty, kind of gory. I have no idea if it has any kind of story. It looks like pretty linear. I think it's just like you have stages that you just go from one end to the other. It's not like an open world kind of thing, I don't think. That's about all I know about it. But the trailer looked really cool, so I was like, you know what, this might be something to watch out for. So I threw it on here at number 9.
Kind of looks like if The Witcher was fun. All right. My number 9 is a sequel to a game I have yet to finish, but once I do, maybe eventually might be a little indie podcast on this with some other people I hear. And I do want to go back and finish the first one as soon as I'm done with Dying Light. That's my number 1 thing I'm going to go back and finish up here. And this is Hades 2. I really did enjoy the first game so much, but it did start to wear on me a little bit. I think if I were to redo it, or probably when I go back to play it again now, I'm going to turn God mode on just so I can get through it a little bit quicker, because I was enjoying the like repetition for a while, and then it got to be just a little too much for me to continue to go back from the beginning every time over and over and over. But I've seen some trailers for this, and it looks kind of like it carries the same vibe as the first game, if not a very slightly different plot that they're going to have here. But it's going to be probably the same great gameplay the first one had, and probably just as good as far as animation and voice acting and things of that nature. So I expect Hades 2 will probably be just as great as the first one was.
All right, very nice. All right, my number 8 is the first of 3 remakes on my list, which is, take that as you will, and the only JRPG. It is, get ready for this title, Suikoden 1 and 2 Remaster Gate Rune and Dunin Unification Wars.
You made that up.
No, so this is a pair of old Konami PS1 JRPGs that are being remastered. I played them in college. They're super fun. They emphasize collecting party members. I believe each one has 108 party members that you collect, and it also has they combine in all kinds of cool ways. And it also lets you carry progress over from one game to another. So it's not strictly sequels, but it knows how well you did in the last game, and if you collected 108 stars, you get rewards in the next game, and they'll like mention the name of your character from the game before it. And I believe that continues on through the rest of the series. I think they've made 5 of them, maybe. But these are the first 2 being remastered, and those are the only 2 I've ever really played. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
So this looks like a kind of a pixelated style of art. Are these are shots from the new game though? It's going to be the same kind of art style.
Yeah, I think it's still maintaining a lot of that art style, but in like a more modern way, kind of like how Octopath Traveler has done.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
that game in action.
Justin? That was my impression of that too. Yes, my number 8 is a it's a little game that's also been in development for a good long while, called Hell World. Now, this is essentially if Pokemon was dark and gritty. I have no idea what the story for this thing is, but you can give your little dollar store Pokemon ripoff creatures, you can give them guns to have them like fight for you in wars. You can make them work in a sweatshop. You can use some of them as like bullet shields. It looks, I mean, this is the closest thing to a Pokemon game that I've ever been interested in, and it just looks like it could be a lot of fun. It comes out sometime this year. No set date yet.
Very, very fun.
Nice. I like Pokemon with guns. You got me sold already. All right. At number 8, I have Hollow Knight Silksong. Now this is set to come out on basically every platform, it looks like here. And they don't have a set date yet, but it seems to be the first half of this year, basically confirmed. And this is the game that I think most of us played, the first one that is. And it's just so great. Just the movement and attacking, just everything was so crisp and then just felt so good. It was just a really great, just all around kind of Metroidvania style platforming game. And it looks like the new game is going to be, very, very similar. So I'm excited to see when that comes out. Probably try and pick that up.
Is that me? Yeah, it's me.
Yep.
All right, my number 8, I would have to guess maybe is on Dave's list somewhere because he's who I think of most with this, but we'll see. Maybe not. This is Pikmin 4 coming out this year, finally. Another sequel to the Pikmin series. This is a series that I was trying to make this list, and I made my list like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, because I was kind of getting the jump on some stuff here. And it's not a series I'd ever think of considering when I think of my favorite series, but when I think back to like replaying the first one and the third one, at least, I'm not sure if I've played the second one, but I really enjoyed playing all the way through those games and the puzzles. And, I mean, in a way, you're limited in resources at times, just with the different Pikmin you have and what you're able to do with them. But it's just a really fun, like, wholesome puzzler with some combat to throw in there as well, but never like to the point where you feel like you're, stuck fighting the same boss a million times over either. But it's just another fun game, and like I said, it's just ones I've had good memories of playing before. So Pikmin 4 is my number 8.
All right. Number 7 for me is called A Highland Song. So the reason that this is on my list is because of the developers. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Inkle. They're one of my absolute favorite studios. They made 80 Days and Heaven's Vault. A lot of really fantastic narrative stories. This one looks like it has some narrative elements. The website describes it as a narrative adventure with rhythm and survival elements. So it's like a beautiful looking side scroller where you're a girl in Scotland. I don't even know what's going on in this game. But this studio has like, I buy everything I can that they make because I've never been like that. Oh, Griftlands. They made Griftlands too. Oh, no, they didn't. I'm mixing them up with another one. I'm sorry. Anyway, A Highland Song. I don't know much about it other than the trailers I've seen. I don't even know if it's confirmed for 2023, but I hope that it is, and I'm looking forward to playing it.
While you were talking, I did a search for this game to try and get some screenshots, and all I got were pictures of men in kilts. So many men in kilts.
Sounds Sounds like a new bus ride.
You're
for
welcome. You're welcome.
My number 7 is a remake, actually, and I think with one exception, it's the only one on this list, and that is the remake of System Shock, which is supposed to come out sometime in March. I never played the first one. I wasn't a PC gamer at the time, but I've heard it was like pivotal. It's like in advancing what a narrative could be in a video game, like the atmosphere, the interaction with the world. I've heard nothing but praise for like everything in terms of how this game is put together, and knowing that they're coming out with a completely from the bottom to the top remake of it that won't have any issues running on modern hardware or anything like that, that is very intriguing to me. So I'm very excited to actually get a chance to play this one when it comes out sometime in March. If you wanted a bit of a plot synopsis, all I know is it takes place, you're stranded on a space station. There's a rogue AI that is doing experiments on the people who used to be residents of the space station, trying to perfect them or like raise them up to something more than the horrible like meat sacks that they used to be.
Gross.
And you're just trying to either kill it or escape, and it sounds just really intense. So I'm excited to give it a try.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, Brett.
Coming in at number 7 for me is a game that popped up on my radar about a month ago, and it was in a beta test, and I saw a streamer on Twitch playing it. And so I started playing it too, and I really liked it a lot. I played for like that week that they had the playtest going. That was I played quite a bit of it. It's called Dark and Darker. Now this is like it's like a gritty kind of medieval first person dungeon crawling looter with an extraction mechanic. And like a shrinking circle. So it's like you're constantly getting like pressed closer and closer and closer to the other players that are on this map, basically. And like occasionally like these little portals pop up that you can escape out of. And essentially you're bad, like it's a PvP VE. So there's NPC enemies in there that you have to fight off. And there's like always a chance to get like loot. That's like the big draw is like anything that you kill or a box you open might have like some really great piece of loot, or it might have just a shoe. You never know what's going to be in it. And so it's pretty cool. It's really hard. I died a lot, but it's the kind of like challenging dying all the time thing that's actually pretty fun and makes you want to come back for more. It's supposed to come out this year. It does not have a confirmed date. It's probably gonna be like second half of the year, but I'm sure they're gonna have another play test before then. But it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope they polish it up a little bit and add some more features. But even in the state it was in, it was pretty cool. So that's Dark and Darker.
I'm watching the trailer or footage of this game, and like it looks remarkably like that Hellraid minigame I was talking about in Dying Light. Which I gather you can play all of Dying Light as a co-op adventure too. I don't know how that would work, but that'd be pretty amazing. Okay, my number 7 is the only game on my top 10 that I have no plans to play, but if I ever got magical amount of time, I would definitely consider it because it is a remaster of one of my favorite games of all time that is coming out this year, and this is an RPG, Justin. Yes, it's Tales of Symphonia Remastered, which is maybe still my favorite RPG game of all time. I loved it because prior to that point, I think I had really, maybe I guess the X-Men Legend games are RPG-ish, but it was really maybe the first game where you had like that set battlefield, but you were fighting in real time while it was like a turn-based at the same time type thing where you're like letting your stuff recharge before you can use it again and dodging around and using your melee weapons in the meantime. And the plot in this game I thought was super fun as well. I think there's maybe 8 characters you unlock in this one. Just a fantastic game. The story was really cool. The cast was really memorable, and still to this day probably maybe is my favorite RPG. I'd have to really think about that, but usually I put it in my top 5 GameCube games, I know. And yeah, I think anybody who hasn't had a chance to play this one, if they get the word out enough about this and you get a chance to play it for the first time, it's a magical experience. So I hope a lot of people do. And if I ever had the chance to maybe play through it with like my kids, I would definitely consider picking this one up again as well.
Awesome. All right, number 6 for me is another remake, another one that may or may not come out this year. It's Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. So this was supposed to come out a couple of years ago, and it got delayed, and it got delayed, and then the Ukrainian-Russian war began, and Nintendo decided that it would be some bad PR to release a war game during wartime, even though there's like every week there's another war game out, and nobody criticizes these companies for doing that. So I'm really not sure.
This one's cartoony though, so
yeah,
that makes it far more offensive.
It's really frustrating. And if I don't know, if I cared so much, I could just like pull out my GBA and play them again. So it's not really that big of a deal, but I have been looking forward to this one for a long time. So for the sake of world peace, I hope that game comes out in 2023.
Fair enough.
That looks like a fun series. I've never played that, but
same. Yeah.
Super fun. I love those games.
Nice. Okay, so my number 6 is Master Detective Archives Raincode. I mentioned the name Danganronpa earlier in my honorable mentions, and this game is actually made by the team that made those games. Danganronpa is all about it's a set of murder mysteries and whatnot, where students are trapped in a location, and generally the only way to get out is for one of them to murder another and not get caught. So very dark stuff, very twisted. And the fact that this team is involved with this was enough to get me on board. This looks like a kind of similar sort of setup, except with a more supernatural bent to it. There's like a ghost that follows you around. It's implied that there are like monsters or spirits that are behind the murders that you're investigating, but and it does look like it's a bit more action oriented. They haven't released a whole lot of footage of the gameplay yet, but just like I said, because of the team that's involved and the fact that it looks like they really ramped up the production quality, I'm on board with this. It comes out sometime in June, I believe, and I think it's exclusive to the Switch, at least from what I've been able to tell. So, yeah, it's different, but it looks cool.
Do you still want to play it once you find out the ghost's name is Navi?
Hey! Listen,
It means
dead body.
It means she died at some point. So yes.
All right. Always hope for that. Number 6 for me is a game that, as several of our games are tonight, does not have a set release date, and may or may not come out this year. But it is the 4th in the series of Dragon Age. It's Dragon Age : Dreadwolf.
Nice.
I've loved this series from the start. The first game is still like a classic. It's one of the great all-time RPGs. It's always been kind of a it's like a semi-open world kind of RPG game where it's a lot of the conversation-based choices. So like you have conversations with people and you like make choices that like can affect events in the game, really affects like relationships with other characters in the game, even like in your party as well. And so it's like team combat, like turn-based team combat kind of thing. Yeah, the first game was great. The second game I played and loved. The third game, Inquisition, I thought was really, really good. That one didn't seem to get great reviews, but I loved it. So I got nothing but hopes for this next game's gonna be really, really good as well. So that it's probably not. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, it comes out this year, but it's gonna be late in the year, I think, if it does. So
I love that series. Great choice.
Yeah. Okay, my number 6 is yet another entry in a series here, because welcome to video gaming in 2023. But this is a game that Justin just started, Fire Emblem Engage. Now I hadn't played actually a Fire Emblem game at all until Three Houses came out, and I don't know why we ended up picking that one up. Some video I watched or something probably, but now I'm kind of hooked on the series after that. And I'm still playing through Three Hopes right now, but this will probably be down the road for me as well. Just seems like another really fun, I want to say turn-based strategy game with the permadeath. I was a big fan of in the first game that I played too. I just thought that was a really cool concept because I hadn't played too many games like that where you could choose to have your party live or die based on how you wanted to play the game, which I just thought was pretty cool. The early reviews for this are really good too. They all seem to be 90% or higher on this, and if nothing else, I'm happy that it seems like this has been a big series. I know, even though I haven't played it, but it seems like Nintendo is really pushing this to be like another AAA franchise for their own companies, which is kind of cool as well. I was really hoping they were going to keep some of the like off the battlefield stuff in this game as well. Justin, I know you said you weren't sure if that was as robust so far.
It does, some elements of that get added back in after like I want to say chapter 4. So
Okay.
fairly early into the game. And it's not as so far at least it's not as involved as in Three Houses, but there is some aspect of that in there still.
Okay. Well, this is my number 6, Fire Emblem Engage.
We are halfway through, and we have had absolutely no overlap, which I'm
Not a single one.
kind of shocked by. But hey, that's fun. All right. Number 5 for me is one that may or may not be on your list. I'm not sure with you guys. But I'm looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy, which is coming out next month. Essentially, you get to go to Hogwarts and be a student and pick a house and go to classes and explore the grounds. And it's basically the Wizarding World experience that people have been asking for a very long time. And nobody really knows yet if it's going to deliver on that and be wonderful or maybe be disappointing or somewhere in between, which is why it's a little lower on my list. But I have a wife and 2 kids who are very much Harry Potter fans, and anything I can get my wife to play is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it for that reason. Despite J.K. Rowling and her awfulness, I still think the world is fun, and hopefully this game is fun too.
I've seen a lot of people like talking about boycotting the game over her nonsense, and just that kind of like infuriates me because like all these developers have nothing to do with her.
They
Right.
tried to separate her from them very early on and say that she was not involved in the production of the game and all that stuff. So I mean she's still making money off of it. So there is that. Yeah. But sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist and just enjoy things.
Exactly.
So that's my take.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, so my number 5 is kind of our first overlap. I know one of you mentioned this in your honorable mentions. I don't remember if it was Brett or Dave, but Sea of Stars.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, good pick. This started as a Kickstarter project, I believe, from people who just wanted to recapture the magic of the 16-bit RPGs, and in particular Chrono Trigger, I believe, was the one they always kept referencing. And to this day, nothing has quite recaptured the experience of playing Chrono Trigger for the first time. And if they manage it, that has me very excited. All the trailers I've seen look just spot on, from the aesthetic to the battle formations and all that. It just looks like it has a lot of promise, a lot of potential, and if it lives up to even a sizable portion of that, I think it'll be a very good game. So I don't know a whole lot about the story. I'm trying to go in blind when it does come out sometime this year, but it's enough to have me excited for it. So Sea of Stars, sometime in 2023.
Okay, we're at 5 here, hey? Number 5 is a game that I had higher, and I actually shuffled things around like last minute, like an hour before we started this, but it is a Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, so they've been over the last 3, 4, 5 years here, they've been kind of rebuilding the old Resident Evil games, and giving them all the new modern game treatment. And from what I've seen, all those have been really, really good. Like they, the modern graphics and just allow you to have so much more story and be kind of really infused into these games, and you get just more from everything. And you get all the updated mechanics as well. So which is maybe from some people's perspectives might be a downgrade because they they enjoy the tank controls from the original games, but Resident Evil 4 was one of the probably my favorite of the series, and was on when we did our horror games list, was pretty high on my list. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this game, if they stay true to the story, if they tweak it a bit, we'll see. But really excited to see that, because the 2 and 3 remakes that I've seen have been really good. So I'm sure this one will be as well.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So I have 5 games left. I've already pre-purchased 3 of these 5 that are up at the top here. And so this is, the number 5 game I purchased in June of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And it is finally coming out thanks to an email I just got this past week in April.
Is it Starfield?
It is Starfield. No, it's not. It's not at all. This is, I think, the first video game I kickstarted. I think I'd have to think about that. But anyway, if you want to look this up, if you haven't seen this game before, if I haven't talked about it before, this is called Curse of the Sea Rats. And this is a hand-drawn Metroidvania game with a fantastic plot and wonderful exploration and treasure elements with a 3 or 4 person crew. They have been sending me gorgeous screenshots of individual bosses and characters that'll be in the game for the past 3 years. This was supposed to come out in April of 2021, it says, and then, of course, COVID, and that slowed it down somehow. But this looks fantastic. I thought about it for playing it with the kids, and that's still the plan, but they're much older than I thought they were going to be by the time we got to this, but it's okay too. Yeah, but it just looks fantastic. They've been sending me almost maybe like every 2 to 3 weeks. I've been getting updates on this, and like they said, the art in this game just looks phenomenal, and the fact that it's Metroidvania on top of it all is going to be super cool. The cutscenes look fantastic. It looks like maybe a 1985 Disney movie almost kind of deal, but like maybe a little cleaner than that even. But plays 4 players, looks fantastic. Bosses are all like some strategy to beat each of one. So you got to like learn patterns and stuff and explore around. But super stoked for this one. Super happy it's finally coming out. I was actually just rechecking the Kickstarter page here, and I don't actually recall what I ordered on this. I'm sure it was probably the digital one to get it the quickest, but I'm not even positive. So, but I'm super.
Did you see the Steam copy though?
What's that?
Doesn't that get you the Steam copy though, where you can play on Boston's?
No,
PC?
there's they did digital for everything, and then they did physical for everything too. So
okay.
But I don't remember which one I ordered, if it was physical or digital. But looks like it's only a Nintendo Switch and PlayStation according to the Kickstarter, but that was again 2-3 years ago, so who knows at this point. But yeah, super stoked for this one to finally be coming out.
That does look good. I'd say that Google describes it as a ratoidvania.
Yes, they're very big on
it. Nice.
Brand new genre,
right?
They're creating there.
For pirates, rats, and Metroidvania lovers, it says.
All right. We're on to number 4. My number 4 is another sequel, as many of these are. Spider-Man 2. The original game for PlayStation was a hit. I really enjoyed it. I got the platinum, and then when they came out with like an updated version for the PS5, I got that platinum too. Really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. I think when they made the first one, they were kind of limited in the swinging speed that they could give Peter Parker because of the hardware limitations, and I'm hoping that now that we're entering 2 years after the PS5 came out, we're finally entering the era where they're making games that are just on PS5 and not 4 and 5. And so I'm hoping that this one will really take advantage of that and have him swinging faster and more gorgeous graphics than even the first one, which is already gorgeous. I'm a big Marvel geek, as you know, so very, very much looking forward to Spider-Man 2.
Nice. Okay. My number 4 is, looking back, I think actually the first sequel on my list. A game called Remnant 2, a sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, which was a criminally overlooked sci-fi third-person shooter. Um, it was intended to be multiplayer, but when I picked it up, like all the friends that were into that sort of thing that I had were playing like Destiny or The Division or whatever. So I was left to kind of plug through this one on my own, but I still had a lot of fun. Um, I don't really want to call it a looter shooter because there is stuff that drops, but it's a lot less common than in something like Destiny. But it makes up for it with originality. So, I mean, you do have your standard guns and stuff, but you can modify them in a lot of different ways. Like you can have mods that, set things on fire or let you see through walls, but you can also have like stranger mods, like ones that make your gun shoot seeds as a special ability that grow into like little minion creatures that you go and attack the enemy after a few seconds. There was a lot of creativity and just originality in that. Great monster designs, an interesting, sci-fi post-apocalyptic world. And I wasn't expecting it to have sold well enough to end up getting a sequel. And lo and behold, it has. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I hope it gets a bigger following so that, maybe I won't be playing through this one just on my own.
Nice. I remember I was seeing a little bit of the first game played, and it did look like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Oh, go on.
No, I know when I watched, because just just an aside, just kind of on just a lot of these games in general. It's just like I watch a lot of things on Twitch, so I see. Like, I never played that game, but I saw it played, and the guy that was watching, he was playing it with some friends, and it looked like it was a lot of fun to play, with a group. So yeah, hopefully you're able to do that with this one.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, number 4 for me is one that has been mentioned very, very briefly, and it is Bethesda's first new IP in the RPG realm in 25 years. It's Starfield, which is finally going to come out this year, we think. It seems to be. I mean, this is another game that doesn't have an actual set date, but they're saying it will come out this year, likely in the first half. So we'll see. Hopefully, it looks amazing. It's I've seen it described as like a cross between Fallout and No Man's Sky, and from the bit of gameplay that I've seen, that seems pretty accurate. It's basically like an open space RPG. It's said there's going to have like over 1,000 planets that you can physically visit and like set foot on. There's character creation, ship creation, customization, actually flying your ships, base building, companions, relationships with companions, and like a ton of voice acting. Apparently, that's taken like a lot of time, is just getting all this voice acting recorded. And it seems to have like a lot of sandbox elements. Even so you could just like, if you didn't want to like do like the mission stuff, you could just build a base, and that's like your entire experience in this game if you wanted to be at that. But it looks great. Pretty much everything Bethesda puts out is like gold. So I'm really excited to see what this is. I don't know if I'll pick it up because I mean there's just a lot of do this year, but yeah, I'm excited to see what it is. So that's Starfield.
I did a quick search because Bethesda has let me down with their reuse of the same old engine that I think has really begun to age poorly. And this article seems to indicate that they've created a new engine starting with this game. So that has me excited. I don't know how much better it's going to be than their old one, but that's I had kind of lost track of this game. So thank you for putting it back on my radar.
I thought that was their original plan, was to do a new engine, but I could have sworn they just tried to go through and re-overhaul the Creation Engine again.
Well, it's called Creation Engine 2. So how much is it new? How much is it rebuild? Hard to say. I think we're going to find out one way or the other.
This engine was built by the old engine. Looking at a picture of this game, and there is a city shot here with a sidewalk that just would be completely unwalkable on that sidewalk. I don't know about this. An incline on that. Anyway. All right, my number 4 game is I hadn't played a game similar to Metroid for a long time until the last couple of years, and everybody kept begging me to play this stupid game, so I finally played it, and Bloodstained was just okay. Until the sequel.
Bloodstained is great.
Yes.
Bloodstained was patently a maybe 7 out of 10.
Incorrect.
But after I was ready to give up on the genre again after that, somebody told me keep trying and try Hollow Knight, and so I did, and Hollow Knight Silksong is my number 4 game. I don't know what the hell the holdup is with this game, because for as big as it's going to be in terms of the actual time spent on building this world, it probably should have been out by now. I don't know what's going on, but I guess maybe it's
that seems fair.
Otherwise, but anyway, this was really one of the games that surprised me the most when I played the first one. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was always challenging and yet really balanced and really fun as well, and that was fun to explore around in and like try different strategies with the, I don't know what they were called, the orbs more or less, but the options you could pick to customize your person. What were they called?
Charms, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Charms. Yeah. So I'm really excited to try this one. I'm kind of curious if it's going to feel reminiscent of the first game or like too much like the first game, though. That is a little concern I have, but I hope it's good. I'm sure it'll be just as good as the first game probably was.
Well, we have our first overlap, and I couldn't disagree with it more, but that's maybe for another day. All right, number 3. So my number 3 is a bit of an odd one. It's not only a game that is already out, it came out yesterday, but it's sort of DLC for an existing game. So 2 years ago, Hitman 3 came out. It is a fantastic game, and you could, through your previous purchases, import the maps and content from Hitman 1 and 2 into it. But as of yesterday, they have retitled Hitman 3, Hitman World of Assassination. It now, when you buy that, it includes the content from the first 2 games. So there's less confusion from the new players on what they need to buy in order to have the whole experience. And they also released a DLC for free called Freelancer that adds a roguelite version of the game to it, which not only is just super cool in its own right, but it really, I've been playing it the last couple days, and it really completely changes the way you play the game. Usually I'm very careful, and I'm like save scumming my way through all of these, it's like a sandbox assassination puzzle game basically, but this doesn't let you save, and you really just have to go with the flow, and it's very difficult but very fun. And the game as a whole, to a new player, represents literally hundreds of hours of content, and 95% of that is really good content. So if you've never played a Hitman game, you think you might be interested, it's now easier than ever and super, super fun. So that's my number 3, Hitman World of Assassination, previously Hitman 3.
Okay. My number 3 pick is also a bit of a weird one, though not for the same reason. It's just because I know it won't be on any of the rest of your lists, but it is Labyrinth of Galeria: The Moon Society. Now this is
that's my number 2. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a first-person dungeon crawler, and I've been a fan of these sorts of things since I was like 8 years old. And it's a genre that's still alive and well, particularly in Japan. So it's where you're going into dungeons that are like on a grid. There's, they're usually big, sprawling. Sometimes you have to make your own maps. But it is a sequel to a game called Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk, which I played back when it came out. I want to say like 3 years ago, maybe. And that one, it was fun just for what it was, but it surprised me because if you try to do everything, it's not always the best plan. I ended up getting a bad ending because I accepted the wrong quest and I got stabbed to death in an alley. I don't know what led up to this. Like if there were choices I could have made that would have been different, but it was a bad ending. But the fact that it just surprised me and made me rethink how I would have to approach another playthrough, that earned my respect. So I'm really curious to see what they do with the sequel here. It has a very anime aesthetic, so I mean, if that puts you off, well, so be it. But the combat was solid. There's a lot of unit customization, tons of items to find, some interesting puzzles, at least in the first one. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what they've changed and improved in the second game.
Cool. Okay, number 3. I am up to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So this, again, does not have a set release date. It's probably will be the second half of the year. And the real unfortunate thing is it's coming out only on PS5, which means that I probably won't be playing this game like anytime soon. Eventually I'm sure they will port it over to PC, at which point then I'll be able to play it. I probably will watch some of it before then. But I played through the first game, the first set of the remake games, and it was just incredible. It was so great to go back into that story of Final Fantasy VII, with all the modern things available to us, all the voice acting and all the cinematic type stuff, and getting a lot of more just backstory and context and depth to the great story that we already know. And they made some tweaks, but it all fit really well together. It felt great to play, and was really, really enjoyable. So I'm excited to see the second. I hear it's going to be a 3-part. There's going to be a third part to this story to finish it out. So we'll see when that comes. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should be this year.
I'm excited for that one too, but I kind of I can't even enjoy the first or the second one not being able to play the third one right after. Knowing that I'll have to halt the experience really hurts it for me. And that they're going to come out with a complete edition afterwards. Yeah. It's all revamped and everything, but it does look good. I'm excited for that one too.
Okay, my number 3 game is a little farming simulator that you may have seen pop up on a few websites, and I've loved games like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, and I feel like there's another one I used to play back, Harvest Moon, there we go, back in the day. So this one, you play a villager in Spain who's a farmer, and then all of a sudden this fucker named Leon Kennedy just shows up in your village. You're trying to milk your fucking cows. This asshole's got guns that he's trying to perfectly organize into his briefcase, and you're watching him for 10 minutes, trying to shape the things in there. Who's this asshole? Must be American. This is Resident Evil 4, the remake. Of course, is on here, which is one of my favorite games of all time as well. Intrigued / a little apprehensive to read that this is going to be straight horror, and they're going to take away the little humorous elements that were in the original game. So we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, I think Dave and I played. Yeah, we played 2 and 3, both the remakes, right? Yeah, we did.
We haven't played 3 actually.
Oh, we haven't played 3? Okay.
We haven't played 3 yet.
Okay, well, 2 was really good, and I mean, the modern style of Resident Evil, I like the tank controls too, but I haven't gone back to actually play an old one like that in a long time. But 4 was one that kind of broke that mold anyway. So one of the silly things I'm excited about this game coming back out for is to see what they're going to do with the franchise after this. Because I feel like after this one, now they have to actually make a decision for the first time in a while. So are they going to only continue the mainline games? Or are they going to go back and redo Resident Evil 0 or Code Veronica? Or are they going to start to try to touch on some of the terrible online ones or the rail shooter ones, or what they're going to do. I don't know where they're going to take this, or maybe they're just moving forward at this point. But of course, this is going to be fantastic. I've been reading a lot about this one in the background. I know there was a lot of hoopla about the last stage of Resident Evil 4. If you haven't read too much about that, I won't say too much about what they're planning for the new game. It sounds like, from what I'm reading here, but it's going to be just fun to check this one out. I think they will be making some changes, but I do think it's going to be fun to see what changes, because we know this one so well. We're going to, hyperanalyze every little detail that they change in the game. So that fucking herb better still be in that one spot on the path to the village. So I'm just saying.
All right, number 2. We're really getting into it now. All right, for me, number 2 is Horizon Call of the Mountain. So I have played and beaten and platinumed both of the Horizon games so far. This one is the PlayStation VR2, PSVR 2 kind of launch game that they're bundling with the hardware. And this is on such a high spot for me, not because of the game itself, even though I do like the franchise, but just as a representation of PSVR 2 as a whole, which I have pre-ordered and am super pumped for. I enjoyed the first PSVR, but it had a lot of limitations. The setup alone, just with the amount of cords and equipment that were required, was absolutely obnoxious. And this one still has one cord, but it's one cord and it plugs right into the front of the PlayStation. All the hands-on impressions I've read for the hardware seem very favorable, and I am really looking forward to diving back into a VR experience. And our new Horizon game sounds like a super fun way to do it. So it's really PSVR 2 is my number 2, but I've put Horizon Call of the Mountain as its representative.
Okay. And we keep having similarities in weird ways, because I'm also cheating a little bit with my number 2, and that is not just one thing. So the reason I'm listing 2 games as my number 2 is because
whoa.
Well, let me explain. One needs to come out before I could play the other. And the reason they're coming out so within the same year is because one is a translation of a game that hadn't been released in English until just now. So the one that needs to come out first is Trails to Azure. That is an entry in a very long-running series of Japanese JRPGs, starting with Trails in the Sky, which had 3 games. There is Trails of Cold Steel, which had 4 games. And this little arc in the middle has 2 games. The first one came out about a year ago. That was Trails from Zero. And Trails to Azure is just getting localized in March, I believe. And I need to play that before I can really understand what's going on in Trails into Reverie, which is the newest game in the series that will kind of cap off those 3 different storylines. It is my understanding. So if you wanted to narrow it down to one, my pick for number 2 is Trails into Reverie. But I need to play Trails to Azure before I can play that one. And it's a very long series, like I said, but it is probably the best JRPG series that you haven't played. Very underrated. It's started to get some traction and some attention with the Trails of Cold Steel games, especially once they got released onto the Switch. But if you can play the entire series, and you can on Steam and the Epic Game Store, I'm not sure how many are available on like Switch or PlayStation at this point, but it is well worth doing. There's just it's hard to explain without going into spoilers, but each story arc is its own thing, but it all ties together into a larger overarching narrative that is one of the most well thought out and most interwoven stories I've seen in a series of RPGs. It's a series that has lasted decades, and the writing backs it up. It is a very fulfilling experience if you stick with it. So number 2, Trails to Azure and Trails into Reverie. First one comes out in March. The other one comes out, I believe, in July. So I'll have some time to get through Reverie or Azure at least.
Nice.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Number 2 for me is it is another sequel. It is coming out this year. It had a confirmed date, which I think is the first one that I have on my list. No, it's not the first one, but
maybe you didn't understand the assignment.
Not just a wish list. Come
on. It is confirmed to come out, and it is Diablo 4. I put so many hours. I would love to know how many hours I put into 1 and 2, because it is many hundreds, I'm sure. But like Diablo 2 was a game that I played that a lot in college when I was just like late at night and I'm just like nothing to do. It's just like, well, we're gonna dive into some more Diablo 2. I as I played 1 and 2. I played through 3 once. I enjoyed that as well. I don't know if you guys have seen any gameplay from this yet. All I've seen is the trailer. I don't know that it's released any gameplay yet.
There is some. You can. It's I think still like alpha footage that they released, but you can see some examples of how it's going to go.
Okay. It from what I've heard, it seems to be like the classic gameplay formula. It's not. They're not. There's the kind of staying away from this nonsense Diablo Immortal thing that they put out. But yeah, I'm super excited to see that. On my list, there's probably only like 4 or 5 games that I probably will actually like for sure going to go out and buy, and this is one of them. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see if it's like the first couple of games. I probably will waste many hours in this thing. So
that's a fun one. I thought about that too. We were playing through Diablo 3, which I know is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the numbered entries, but we have it on the disc for the Switch, and one of my kids lost it, so I don't know where it's at. So
oh no.
Whenever we find that, maybe we'll get back to that game.
I never got Diablo 3. I mean, it's just like the whole equipment system never made sense. It's like you're carrying a battle axe and somehow that makes your witch doctor better at throwing spiders. It just didn't make any sense to me. And given how Diablo 3, went, and then this whole mess with Diablo Immortal, I'm very hesitant about Diablo 4. I considered it, but I'll have to wait and see how well they actually execute it before I even think about picking that one up.
You think that's the struggle,
fair.
Justin? Trying to get your 2 kids to walk in the same direction on the screen. All right. That's the real struggle. All right. I don't have to beat around the bush on my number 2 here, because I know I'm the only one that's going to have this on my list. This is pre-ordered already, and it was supposed to come out possibly sometime last year, but this is kind of getting dragged a little bit into a delay here as well for a couple of reasons. I believe it was already awarded some game awards last year, but has actually not come out yet. And this is AEW Fight Forever. It's a wrestling game, folks. It's an old school arcade style wrestling game like the N64 engine style games, which I know Brett and I played some back in the day.
Nice.
But this is the old school grappling and do your moves, and this is going to have DLC as well, I know, which I think is included with the base price because they made some statement about not charging extra for updates and things of that. But I know it has create a wrestler mode, which is always fun to like make up some weird person yourself, and then I think it has the traditional storyline career mode, which will be fun. This will be a great one to play with my kids. I don't know if it has online play or not. I'm not positive on that. But I'm really hoping it has, I would imagine it would, but I'm really hoping it has the actual like theme songs and stuff from the wrestlers as well. I know it's actually being made, like the wrestlers themselves that help run the company actually have been working on this as like their side job besides wrestling for 2+ years now. I think Kenny Omega and some other ones have been working on this. So, I'm just really excited for this, just partially because I'm so into this again right now, and partially because just like I said, so many fond memories of playing those old games back in the day, WCW, NWO, Revenge, and World Tour, and all those old ones as well. So it's less sim and more arcade style. So I think it'll be a fun one to play. That's my number 2.
All right, here we go with our number 1s. All right, 18 years ago, I was in college. I lived with this dickhead named Cody. And I came home one day, and he had gotten a new game for the GameCube called Resident Evil 4. I had really not played much of the series before that. He had made some promise, I don't know, to a friend or to his girlfriend or something, that he was not going to play past a certain point in the game until that person was with him. So I sat there and watched him play the first village and the path up to the village, including that herb he found that he mentioned earlier in the podcast. Watched him play that over and over and over again before finally being able to move on. And man, what a fucking experience that game was. It was just a revelation. One of my favorite gaming memories ever was playing through that with you, Cody. Watching you play it and playing it myself. Later played through it on the Wii, which had just an absolutely amazing control scheme improvement for it with the pointer. Tried to replay the PS4 version like last year and just couldn't get past the tank controls. It was really tough for me. So the Resident Evil 4 remake is my number one. I'm super excited for it. A lot of times with remakes, you worry what they're going to change, what they're going to fuck up. But I just feel like Capcom is on such a winning streak right now. I feel like they're doing things right. And so those worries are pretty alleviated for me. And I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I'm hoping that they will bring VR into it and I can, play it in VR at some point.
That'd be cool.
And I love the game. I'm really looking forward to the remake. So my number one game I'm looking forward to this year is Resident Evil 4, the remake.
Nice. They actually did do a VR version of Resident Evil 4. I haven't played it, so I don't know quite how it compares, but I mean, the precedent is there for, the remake getting that treatment too.
Yeah, and with 7 and 8 being put in VR, like Capcom knows how to do VR, so I have my fingers crossed.
And the precedent may be there, but the president is not. Just his daughter, Ashley
the
Graham.
President's daughter.
Woohoo! Leon, help!
He was making jet skis cool before Loki came out. I'll tell you that.
Okay. So my number one actually has also already been mentioned. Hollow Knight Silksong. The first Hollow Knight is bar none my favorite Metroidvania of all time. Just something about it, like the exploration, the tools at your disposal, the art style, like those characters, they feel like something out of a Ghibli film at times. They have personality, even though they just speak in gibberish. And it was just such an engrossing experience. And I'm pretty sure I got like the bad ending at the end of it, but I mean, at some point I will go back and get the true ending, just because even though I spent probably 30 hours in a Metroidvania, which is absurd, I enjoyed every minute of it, and I can't wait to see what they do with Silksong. I mean, the trailers I've seen for it, it just looks like it's full of more of the same except better. And that is music to my ears with no exceptions. So that is without a doubt my number one pick for most anticipated game for 2023.
All right, next episode of this podcast is going to be a 1v3 fight about Hollow Knight and its merits.
Oh, classic or crap? I mean,
there you go.
As long as I don't have to try to guess what kind of food the fucking old lady wants me to get her for Bloodstained, I'm fine.
It's warm and gooey and tastes good.
It has noodles.
It's pizza. Come on. It's not that hard.
All right, here we go. Number one for me. This is a game that I have already pre-purchased. I bought it the very first day that it came out available as pre-purchase. Due to our, so just real quick, but go back here. We had this big vacation plan that I told you guys about this, then it got canceled because of the hurricane. Stupid bastard hurricane. The vacation is rescheduled And I will not. I bought this game. I have 3 days early access, and I will not be playing it because I will be on vacation. So terrible timing, but still is super excited. This is Hogwarts Legacy. It it looks like it's going to be just great. My wife was a huge Harry Potter fan before I met her, and I was not. And in the course of dating, she converted me, and I really enjoy the story. I love the characters. We've been to Universal and spent a ton of time in the Harry Potter section there at the theme park. And so I'm really excited to be able to like create a character and go live in Hogwarts and do all this stuff and explore all the world around. And just everything about it looks like it's going to be really cool. It's going to be just single player, no online or anything like that, which I think is just fine. Like I don't need multiplayer in this particular game. I just need the story and then the vibes of it. And it also is very high on this list for another reason. Like Dave mentioned that I'm really hoping to play this with my wife. Because that's something I really enjoy doing. We don't have a lot of games that we play together because I like a lot of things that kill things, and she does not.
I was really hoping you were going to say you also wanted to play it with Dave's wife, but
a little awkward.
Come on over.
But this is coming out February 10th, February 7th for me, but I will not be playing at that. But super excited. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. I have no problem that it's attached to J.K. Rowling in the sense that it is. There we go.
And then she did some golden snitching of her own. All right. Well, gee, my number one's going to be. I was almost going to do it as my first one just because there's no secret to this whatsoever. So, I mean, you can all guess what this probably is. Maybe, probably, I would guess. But it's interesting looking back at my list, though, just to think like there's only, I think, 2 original IPs on here. One's a wrestling game, so really it's just the one I kickstarted years ago. But everything else is a remaster or a sequel to a series, which I guess says something about what I enjoy. A couple of my honorables were not, but my number one is going to be the big release for Nintendo this year. It's Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't need to beat around the bush with this. My opinion, the first one, Breath of the Wild, is possibly the greatest game I've ever played. Probably my favorite game of all time. If push came to shove, it usually ranks up there at the top of my list. There would be others in contention, Resident Evil 4 being one of them that I'd have to put on that list. And I know just for Justin's sake, you won't see GoldenEye on here tonight, but that would be another game that I'd have to think about historically being near the top of my list someplace. But I have faith that Nintendo is going to do well with this one. They've had this in development for quite a while, to the point where I was fairly confident they were going to maybe save this for some kind of launch for some kind of new system iteration, or maybe whatever they're going to do after the Switch, which is a whole nother thing we could talk about. But the first one was solid to me. Maybe only really was lacking the dungeons of the classic games when it had the divine beasts that you could go around as kind of the pseudo dungeons. But I loved the temples. I loved the way you could cook single items one by one. That was really a selling point for me. There's the face I wanted from Dave. Okay. And but it was
for
fantastic.
Dave's dissent, for Dave's reasons why Breath of the Wild sucks, please refer to the previous podcast episode of Top Zelda Games. You'll hear all about
There you go. I don't know. This is just fantastic. The first one I thought was just so fun to be in, like not all, but a lot of Zeldas are open world, I guess, per se. But this one just felt bigger and like there were more crevices to go explore around in. And I still maintain that it was a lot of fun, to decide how to like handle
emptier and blander than ever before.
True. You say that. All the little encampments I still think were fantastic. I see they're kind of going to the sky, it looks like, in this one. So hopefully that's pulled off well. I don't know. I think it's like the same world or the same map, or I don't exactly know how they're going to mesh this with the first game storyline, but I think this is this, I don't even know where this
does
fits.
it tie into Skyward Sword?
No, I don't think so. I think it's even has possibly a different villain, or there's some mysteries about the plot to this one yet. Like still from that initial trailer, which came out like, I don't even know, 2 years ago now, as far as who's who and what's happening here and how this will play out. There were rumors for a while that you could maybe play as Zelda. I can't imagine that's going to be the case, or they would have shown that by now, but they still have 5 months, so it's possible they have some reveals yet for us in here, I'm sure. But yeah, it's my number one. Ordered that one a long time ago as well. This is Tears of the Kingdom, The Legend of Zelda.
All right. So Brett, I know you've been tallying things.
I have, yeah.
We've got, I know Resident Evil 4 was on 3 lists and Silk Song on 3 lists. How are we stacking up?
Well, we only had 3 games that had more than one mention. So
that's insane.
Sweet mercy.
Yeah, so like 40 votes and only 3 of them overlapped, basically. But technically, the third place here is Hogwarts Legacy with 16 points. And then second place is Silk Song with 20 points. And then our top most anticipated game of 2023 is Resident Evil 4 Remake with 24 points.
Oh, that's a close one.
Wow. That makes sense. You could remake one of the best games of all time. I mean,
yeah, but can you improve on what's already so good? I mean, that's why the Silent Hill 2 remake wasn't on mine, because you can't improve on perfection. So,
well, we'll see.
All right. Well, very good. Anyone have any final thoughts before we sing our theme song out of here?
I was just gonna say it looks like a good year for gaming, because obviously I'm a Nintendo guy, but we got PC players here and PlayStation players, and sounds like a lot of good games coming out. And side note to our audience and reminder to our host, this is the end of 1 year, 52nd episode. So there's that.
Woo! We did it.
We're not canceled yet. I mean, quick, take us to the theme song.
We're still banned in Florida.
Friends. Occasionally not disagree. Friends.
Very much disagreeing today.
Touche.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Yep.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.